sort of speaking in a similar vein, although this is a really good fight, but just not bad matchmaking, bad planning. Let's say bad planning. It turns out that they could be moving the Juan Estrada Kal Yafai fight from the December 13th card of the Jacobs Chavez undercard in MSG New York City to a January show in Miami, Florida. And first off, I was already kind of like, why put Estrada Yafai in New York? It makes no sense. But it at least adds a lot of card depth for that card, so I'm okay with it. Now you're going to take away the depth in that card, really the credible fight on that card, because Jacobs Chavez Jr. isn't the credible fight on that card. It was Estrada Yafai. You're going to take that away and put it in Miami, Florida? What are you thinking? First off, Miami, we're talking about like fight towns that aren't really fight towns. Miami's high on that list, right? Like, I know, Gary, you hated the idea of a Chicago fight, but Miami fights always do bad. And on top of it, neither of these guys have any sort of demographic in Miami. And this goes back to what I was talking about, I want to say either with the show with you, Gary, or maybe earlier this week with you, Rob. Like this, it seems like DAZN, which is a UK-based company, doesn't have a real understanding that these Latino demographics are not the same. You know, they're putting like Mexican fighters in Puerto Rican markets, in Cuban markets. It makes no sense. I don't understand the thought process behind putting a Mexican fighter from, what is he from? Like Sinaloa, Mexico? Like he's from a legit gangster part of Mexico, and a UK fighter who's Indian or Pakistani, and putting them in a fight in Miami, Florida.
It's like your drunk uncle who you bring your friend over and he goes, "Oh, he's a Mexican." He's like, "I'm Costa Rican." He's like, what the hell's the difference, right? Like,
yep.
There's actually it's an entirely different country. There's entirely like they're not the same. I guess Liston versus Ali was in Miami. They've tried to put 100 million fights there since, and none of them have sold. It's like it's not going to work. Like you could put a Puerto Rican versus a Cuban in there, and for some reason it doesn't sell, even though there's a huge Puerto Rican and a huge Cuban demographic there. It just doesn't sell. Now you're going to put a Mexican fighter in there with no natural market and think that's going to sell?
Against a UK fighter. And like
against a UK fighter, yeah.
Which, I mean, if you're a UK fighter, you naturally struggle to find like a market that you would sell well in the US, obviously, but New York would be a far better place for that fight because at least it's a easier travel time for Yafai fans if they want to travel to that fight in New York City. Miami, it's a longer flight, more expensive for traveling fans. And on top of it, it's a fight town that it's not a fight town. It's a town that has no real fan bases for either fighter here. So I'm not. Are they thinking of putting this as the main event in Miami, or are they thinking that this is going to be on the undercard of another big fight in Miami? I don't know, but it just doesn't make any sense. Like sometimes less is more, guys. Like sometimes going to every city in the world, going to Monaco, Miami, L.A., Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, sometimes that's overstretching yourself. Okay?
Riyadh. What the fuck is Riyadh?
How do you pronounce the name of the city?
Or is it like Riyadh or something like that?
Riyadh, whatever, okay?
You're mixing it with Diriyah and Riyadh. It's like you went Riyadh.
What's Diriyah?
That's actually where the fight is.
Oh, that's right. That's right. No, you're right. Okay. Yeah. Anyways, I think like there's a benefit to just being in, 3 or 4 cities and markets, and you solidify those markets, and they're yours. There's a benefit to that. Obviously, Matchroom have the UK on lock, so the idea of like being concerned about the UK market shouldn't be an issue. So if you're looking to the US, make New York and LA homes for you, and focus on those 2 cities. Maybe Chicago for you guys like Triple G and Usyk. But that's it, man. Don't go off the beaten path here with a potentially shrinking budget via DAZN. And on top of it, it's seeming like the traction for fans and for subscribers isn't as mainstream, let's say, as they were hoping. It's still a very boxing centric subscriber base for DAZN, and putting weird matchups or even good matchups in weird locales does a disservice to your main subscriber base at this point in time.
Yeah, this isn't happening just yet, so let's...
No, I know that. I'm saying if it's in Miami, it's awful. And I'll be honest, if they're... The fact that they're even thinking about this is probably a sign that this fight's not going to be on this card.
Well, we don't even know. Last I heard, Chavez isn't looking likely to sign right now to fight Jacobs, and it's going to be Gabe Rosado against Jacobs.
At 75? I mean, at 68?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe somewhere in between. I don't know, but
yeah.
That's some of the last reportings or interviews I saw regarding Chavez Jr. signing that contract.
Eddie said they were going to look to shop that fight around in different locations, including California and other cities in Texas besides Dallas, meaning San Antonio, I would think. Which to me would indicate that it's Chavez, because why would you sell Jacobs in heavy Mexican, areas if it wasn't Chavez? Mm-hmm. If it was Gabe Rosado, it doesn't make any sense at all to put it in LA or San Antonio.
Yeah.
So wait, now that date's even not solid for MSG? Is that?
He's looking because you have there's a top ranked card that weekend too, right?
Yeah, that's Crawford and Teofimo Come, right? On the 14th.
Yep.
Yeah.
13th. Is it 13th? 14th.
It's the 14th. 14th, because
14th.
This would be
Jacobs and that we're going to go on the Friday.
Right.
No, you're right. Yeah. And plus the 7th, the week before, is
Joshua.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think this card's going to fall apart, and I think DAZN's going to keep making some really simple mistakes when it comes to matchmaking and strategizing. It just, again, simple mistakes. If they're really thinking about Estrada Yafai in Miami, they're already messing up.